All right, welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 20th day of March 2023. And of course, this is the day that the Azimio leadership has organized for mass action in the city in different parts of the country. So if I've taken you through what's happening around State House, I want to quickly take you to Kibra constituency, where Hassan Mugambi is standing by to bring us the latest in as far as that is going on. As soon as we're able to get Hassan, we'll be bringing him on board. But let me get back here in the studio. We were talking about the question of CASs, and there's no agreement here on what should happen to the excess of 27 CASs. Honorable Koech still insists that there was a request to create 50. But anyway, we'll wait for that information to come. But your thoughts this morning, at a time that the police in Nairobi have said that the demonstration should not happen, but Azimio leader Raila Odinga says no, the police are not supposed to be giving permission, they should just be notified, and the notification has reached them. Honorable Koech.
First of all, let me say I'm so proud, Kenyan, today that so many people, like you can even see on the procession way, are headed to work. It tells you that no one has heeded the call for mass action. Everyone is going on with their business. Even driving here, I saw so many people going on with their normal duties and work, and people and traffic building when people are getting to work. Let me say this, Sam, that even though I am okay that people are going to work, I woke up today with a heavy heart for this nation, that for way too long, someone has held this country at ransom. Some people have decided that this morning, children of this country cannot go to school because they have decided to hold the nation not once, not twice at ransom. This country has to move on. This country is a country that respects the rule of law. We have a constitution that is supreme to everyone, and we all must submit to the constitution. There are individuals who are perpetually made this country a field for losing blood, a field for their thirst for power. It has come to a time when we must deal with that irritant once and for all. Let me tell you, Sam, because if you asked me, and I saw the headline of the Nation, it's first of all, it is inaccurate, because the president, I was in this function yesterday, this church function, the president said he cannot sit on a table to discuss with an anarchist. The things that are being tabled to warrant a demonstrations are things that are beyond the control of the president. What Honorable Raila Odinga wants President William Ruto to do is to step aside from the constitution, first of all, to allow an individual to pick for us who should sit in the IEBC. That is his number one request. Number two is to continue to say that our people, because of the cost of living, we should ask ourselves, how did we find ourselves here before we even discuss about bringing down the cost of living in this country? This government has only been in power for 6 months and a few days. The ministers who are in office and the permanent secretaries have been in office for less than 4 months. Someone is insisting no government is elected anywhere in the world to perform miracle. We cannot have performed miracle in 6 months. And I can tell you there is no peaceful demonstration. What these people want to do is an attempted coup on the president of this country. That is mutiny. And I can dare them that today, and I said it before, anyone who is man enough, walk to State House. State House is not a cafe where you go and buy takeaway coffee and decide to walk in the morning and think you'll come out alive. It is a protected zone. Power and influence. The head of state, like my colleague did say, is a symbol of unity. Any attempt to attack that office is an attempt on the people of this country. It must be dealt with firmly and decisively. Today, I call upon the people of this country that the continued irritation, the continued blackmail, the continued torture by economic bandits who do not want this country to be peaceful must come to a stop. Last week, you saw what happened in Kisumu, a public event, an event that had been sponsored by a ministry. People who were disguised as peaceful procession went, attacked officers from government, ate food there, and left with the chairs for that function, stopped the function. Yesterday, there was a peaceful procession in Kisumu. That peaceful procession in Kisumu that was asking that let's have peace in this country were attacked. For how long, Sam, should this country shed blood for thirst of an individual for power? From Chesoni to Chebukati, the same individual has continued to attack independent institutions, the IEBC, the Supreme Court. He does not accept that he has lost.
Short at that point, and your fellow panelists can note down their responses, because first we need to take a look at what's going on. We understand that Chemutai Goin is at Raila Odinga's home in Karen, and one Hassan Mugambi is at Kibra. And of course, we'll be speaking to both of them. But let's begin with Hassan Mugambi in Kibra. What's going on there? What have you been able to see? Because you've also seen pictures from around the State House barricaded. What are they saying there?
Well, thank you, Sam. We are here, like you put it, in Kibra, and what we have seen so far is earlier on we were traversing the streets of Kibra, that is the Kibera Drive, all the way to an area called Ayani, where our officers were just, collecting tires that had been placed on the road without being lit. So they collected them and put them in their lorries to just get them out of the road so that the people here can use the roads properly. And what we are seeing here right now, the current situation is that Kenyans are going about their businesses as usual, just walking to work. Others are on board borders, others are on board matatus. We have seen pupils and students in school uniform heading to school. We are not seeing any person, so to speak, just taking part in any form of demonstrations so far. We haven't seen, pockets of demonstrators or people shouting or screaming to the top of their voices. Currently, what we are seeing here is just your normal Monday morning in Kibra Drive, and this is the Congo Karumba Road that connects to Langata Road. And as usual, though not in their numbers as they usually are, we are seeing a lot of people just going about their business. This is usually how the place is in any morning that you come here, Sam, and we haven't seen quite a lot, except for those officers who we were seeing just collecting tires and moving and just sensitizing people, as well as just telling them that they will not be accepting any form of violence or any form of unauthorized, association of people, as well as demonstrations that will have not been notified to the police here in Kibra. So we are waiting to see whatever it is that will be, how the day will be panning out here, and whether we will be seeing this being one of the political, bedrocks of Raila Odinga here in Nairobi. It is expected that perhaps people will be moving towards KICC like he instructed yesterday. But then again, what we're seeing here today, so far, Sam, people going about their business as usual in Kibra.
All right, business as usual in Kibra. And Chemutai Goin is at the home of the former Prime Minister. Good morning, Chemutai. What have you seen so far? Is Raila Odinga there?
First, Sam, there's very little activity ongoing here, even along the road fast as we headed towards Kerarapon Drive, which is the home of Azimio leader Raila Odinga. But I must say, I cannot authenticate about his whereabouts because first, you can see we are at the barrier, so we've not been allowed access to the area where his gate is and where his home is, and we still cannot verify the details about his whereabouts. Of course, in such a scenario, and with him having said that this rally these demonstrations in Mombasa will be the mother of all demonstrations, and even that call to Kenyans across the country to demonstrate, maybe there was that fear that maybe there would be blockage, or maybe there would be barricades erected. I beg your pardon. So far we've not been able to see him or anyone close to him, and we've not not even been able to see vehicles belonging to any of the leaders allied to the group. It would be expected that maybe there would be a lot of movement, but it's also too early to call. So we're still pitching tent here, waiting to see whether we'll have any information that we can share with you. But some sources indicate that they say you never know if he's here, but wait for him on the streets. You will see him on the streets. So with that statement tells you that maybe there's a little of planning going on, and maybe he could be in a different location, anticipating possible maybe reaction by government officials if they were, because the police had yesterday indicated that the call to Kenyans to hit the streets was illegal because there had been no notification, and we've seen the Azimio leadership stating that they had already submitted a notification to the police, in as much as we've not been able to see that notification. Some also, many have been waiting to see. It's been a tense moment, and even here we had anticipated that possibly maybe there would be security presence because there was some rumors flying about town last night about whether there would be people or maybe other protesters coming here, but then very little activity. It's business as usual. But I must say, along the road, Ngong Road, we were able to spot that members of the public, some of them, there were pockets of those that had been stranded at the Matatu stages waiting for vehicles. And normally along the road we would see a lot of traffic because people are going to work. But we must say the traffic here is a little bit limited. But we are waiting to see whether, as the time goes by, there would be developments building up to, of course, that meeting where it is expected that after Odinga, if he's in his home or wherever he is, will be meeting leaders allied to Azimio and any other leader possibly who wants to join in that protest. They will be meeting at the KICC before now hitting the streets in the central business district, and then culminating in the tail end, and the major part of that rally is that march on to State House, where waiting to see what is this plan. Is there a memorandum that will be submitted, or what is the plan? So we will keep you updated as soon as we are able to give you more information and whether we are able to see more developments from here at Kerarapon Drive in Karen.
All right. Thank you so much, Matago, in the home of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Not clear whether Raila Odinga is in the compound, but says that we should just wait to see. Honorable Robert Mboi back here in studio.
You cut me short, Sam.
So,
let me just finish what I
will give another opportunity.
Okay.
Before the next break.
Okay.
So, Honorable Mboi, so the police are saying that you filed your notification not in the right format as provided for in the law, and it was late anyway. So you might be taking part in some illegal demonstrations. What's your take?
Sam, let me make this very, very clear. You know, Chapter 4 of our Constitution 2010 is very clear about the fundamental rights of Kenyans. And I've carried this Constitution so that for the benefit of my colleagues here who may want to read, because instead of the police commander of Nairobi walking around with rungus, maybe he should arm himself with the Constitution so that he knows exactly what it says. Because this is the supreme law of the land, not the rungus and the guns that they are carrying. Now, Article 19 says the rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights, A, belong to each individual and are not granted by the state. So he needs to understand we are not asking him. He doesn't grant us those rights. They are given to us by the votes that Kenyans cast in 2010. And then an Article 37, because it's very important that we address this matter. Article 37 says on assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petitions that every person has a right peacefully or peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. So I don't even know what the hullabaloo is, because the Constitution covers what we are doing. It's very, very clear. We are doing the right thing. And let me say, some people have come up and said, there's a very tired narrative here about, Raila has always held the country at ransom. He keeps demonstrating. And they forget that it is because of demonstrations that we actually moved from the one-party state and repealed Section 2A in 1992. And again, it is also because of demonstrations that we have the 2010 Constitution. Every single time people demonstrate, it is not supposed to be demonized. We are doing that because it is a constitutional inherent right, so that we can complain about the things that we feel the state is doing wrong. And what we are saying now is that you've pushed through a law of changing the composition of the selection panel for IEBC. We think that is unfair. That was wrong. This is a political process. We should have allowed all political actors to have a say. We also say it is very wrong to be unresponsive to the needs of the Kenyans who are going hungry, cannot educate their children, and we are going to politics all the time. We go to Harambes. I've seen Harambes coming back. It's like Moi days. People go to a church and give 5 million, 3 million, then every minister 500,000. Where is this money coming from? Who earns that kind of money? You cannot take the Kenya back to the dark days when we are watching. So we are going to demonstrate peacefully. We have said people carry white handkerchiefs. We have said people carry the flag of Kenya. We will not be armed. The people who will be armed are the police. Let them keep aside and watch us do our demonstration. And by the way, there is no office of this country which is not ours. Even State House belongs to this country. State House belongs to the people of Kenya. It doesn't belong to the occupant of State House. Because in another few, even if it is not now, in 5 years, the head of state will go to an election. If he loses, will still stay there. So State House belongs to the people, and the people have a right to put whoever they want there. We are not going to State House to kick out anyone. We are going to present a petition as per the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. So let them not panic, but let them not fight us.
Mbui, what do you do with the Public Order Act Section 5 that talks about no person shall hold a public meeting or a public procession except in accordance with the provisions of this section, and partly says that a notice under subsection 2 shall be in the prescribed form and shall specify the full names and physical address of the organizer of the proposed public meeting, the proposed date of the meeting or procession, and the time thereof, which shall be between 6 o'clock in the morning and in the afternoon, and the proposed site of the public meeting or the proposed route in the case of a public procession.
Sam,
does your notification detail this information?
Sam, let me take you back and say that this is a supreme law. The Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Any law that is contrary to what is contained in the Constitution is null and void. So for us, we are using the Constitution. And if we are being told to go and get a form, because this is what they say, you go and get a form. If the police don't give you a form, does that mean the police have a right now to stop us from demonstrating, which the inherent right is given to us and not by the state? So we are following the Constitution because we can amend that law anytime, but right now we did give our notification on time, and the police have, there's some people within the police.
When did you file it? When did you file the notification?
We gave the notice, I think, on, was it on Friday?
And it says...
And let me tell you, Sam, let me tell you, why are we pretending here that there is some written document or in a certain form, I don't know, we have to go and give the police, when the police have known for the last 1 month that they have a date with destiny today?
But the law prescribes what is supposed to happen. It's
no, but we said it in our rallies that we are going to follow the Constitution, so Article 37, and that is supreme. It's more superior than the law you've just read.
But this is an act of parliament that has been created by parliaments. What should we do? Are
you aware what the Constitution says, that if there's any act that is contradicting the Constitution is supreme.
But is it,
so we have decided to stick with the Constitution. And I'll tell you the reason, Sam, so that I make it clear. The reason sometimes it is difficult to follow some of these laid down procedures is because the people that control them, the gatekeepers, they may decide to abuse them and refuse to give you a form, refuse to accept or acknowledge that they've received. Yes, that's what they've done. They've just decided that there is another, they said there is another request from another amorphous body, and therefore they will not allow us. Azimio is the largest coalition in Kenya, political coalition. So why would you say that you not allow the biggest coalition in the country to do peaceful demonstrations because there is an amorphous body that has also said they want to demonstrate?
All right, Honorable Mbui, I'll come back to Dr. Komolo for legal opinion, but first, Mheshimiwa Sane, what do you make of this?
Sam, I appreciate how my colleague has referred us to the Constitution. But it would have been a little bit fair if he goes on. Yes, our rights do not come from state, they are enshrined. They are innate. They are ours by virtue of being citizens of this country. But if you go on reading C, They are subject only to the limitations contemplated in this constitution, so they are not an end to itself. But for me,
which article are you reading?
The same article he referred me to 19. I'm just reading clause C. Yes, he's right. We have freedoms whose permission the state we don't want, but even in those rights, in as much as they are God-given by virtue of being a citizen, there are limitations, and some are unlimited, I agree. But that, what I'm coming to, I'm
trying to understand the application of C that you're referring to.
That every right has an end in some way. Let us say you have the right to demonstrate, to picket, to do all that in terms of assembly, but that stops at the point when you are infringing on my right, when you step on my eggs, when you are affecting my life and limb. It ceases to be your right. It's now within the domain of my rights. Are you getting me? So rights...
19.3c that you're referring us to says that the rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights are subject only to the limitations contemplated in this Constitution.
That's what I'm saying. If you go on reading, there are some rights that are limited and some rights that are unlimited. So it doesn't mean... That's where I'm taking you from 19 to 37 now, which gives you all the rights and freedoms for assembly, picketing, demonstration, and petitions. Even in that, there is a rider. It is not just an exclusive right as it is in our Constitution. It must be exercised with discipline. You must be peaceable. You must be unarmed. Imagine a mass of locals, common people, with rungus, machetes, going to State House. It's a gazetted area, a protected area. You can't just say that it is not the house of Ruto, but that is a public property. It is the seat of power. And now that brings me to this perennial issue. Every 5 years, we have this problem. Elections are done. You know what has happened in 1997 between KANU and LDP? Come to 2007, it was a Nusumukati government. Then 2017, a handshake until the opposition was fused with the government, which is undemocratic. It's against the same constitution. Against the same constitution the leader of minority has referred me to. All this bespeaks much about the leader of majority, whom I have immense respect for. He has contributed immensely to our emancipation in terms of deepening our democratic space. But of late, there is an irony. He has the knack for losing friends as fast as he gets them. He doesn't honor agreement even within his coalitions. You know that these are facts. You will remember there were issues even from Exchequer, what they get, political parties give to parties. ODM had issues with other partners. What I mean to say, you remember was it Ben Bella of Algeria, who went to a level of trying to even hand over power to his butler because of age. Something might not be wrong, in as much as I respect the boss. It's natural. Senility catches up with people. This is not the way to do things.
Sani, I think that's an unfair statement that are not allowed.
This is what I mean. He said he always respects the rule of law. Honestly speaking, I quote him.
No, there's something you just mentioned that will not allow you to go along that line. So let's first of all cross over to speak to Seth Olale, who is on Juja Road, Mlango Kubwa, to bring us to speed on what's happening there. Seth, good morning. What can you tell us?
Well, good morning, Sam Gituku. The latest we have, crowds already departing the Mathare area, and they're heading towards that direction, which should be now Pangani area and maybe possibly all the way to Thika Road into CBD. Some of them started walking here, shouting and chanting, unga, unga, unga. Some were armed with sfurias and muikos. They were just passing here. But what also interesting, Sam, is that we also have the law enforcement officers, and they're not causing any any trouble in terms of, blocking these particular individuals from just leaving this particular area. Like I said, we are at Mlango Kubwa. This is a very strategic and key point joining the CBD, because this is Mathare area. It also borders Kamkunji constituency on my right. We have Mathare on my left. This particular road, Juja Road, stretches all the way to Huruma, Dandora, Kariobangi North, as well as Buruburu, and it can also go all the way to Kangundo Road. And so we have bits of people just moving from this particular residential area and now heading towards Pangani area. Some which we managed to speak to earlier, they say that they're going to involve themselves in a peaceful demonstration at the CBD. But right now, there's no resistance from law enforcers here who've been camping here as early as from 7 a.m., some 6 a.m. And what we know is that there have also been police patrols along this particular road. We've seen quite a couple of marked or registered police vehicles just patrolling this particular place with police officers. This road, the Juja Road, is usually busy, especially this time of the hour, where is usually expected to have traffic jam, but it has eased up since 6 a.m. from the moment we were here. And what we know is that more and more residents prefer to walk. They're walking all the way to Pangani area. We're not very sure if they're going to link Pangani with Thika Road and head all the way to Ngara and now to Nairobi Central Business District. So this is the situation here, Pam. Sam Gituku, you can also see the police just, some interacting with residents, and residents, some of them just, telling them, chanting Unga, Unga. But there's no resistance at all here. No much drama. The road has not been barricaded. We've not seen any, bonfire lit here, and so it is just easy. It is easy here at Mlango Kubwa. But it's only about 7:45 or 7:50 a.m. and we're camping here just to give you the latest in terms of what is going to transpire here, Sam Gituku, in Mlango Kubwa area, and as far as the maandamano that was called by Azimio is concerned. Sam.
All right, thank you so much, Seth Olale there from Mlango Kubwa along Juja Road. You can see several shops there are closed. He tells us that he has seen several residents walking towards Pangani area. He doesn't know where their destination will be, the city, but we'll wait to see. Now, back here in studio, Wakili, we hadn't spoken to you about this and what your reconciliation of this is, because sometime, I think it was either last year or the previous year, 2021, when the National Security Advisory Committee had given instructions that public gatherings should not happen because of COVID-19, and specifically they were targeting the camp of then Deputy President William Ruto. There are meetings that were happening in Kisii County that actually didn't happen. And thereafter, there was a matter in court, and the court said that those instructions were illegal, but the team that went to court did not manage to convince the court that Section 5 of the Public Order Act is unconstitutional. And so with what has happened, the decision by the police command in Nairobi, the Azimio is saying that we just need to notify you. Where are we legally?
So Kenya summers a lot of what you call colonial legacy laws. There are so many, particularly in the Criminal Procedure Act, and of course what you call Public Order Act. This is more or less designed along what we used to call provincial administration. And it is expected that from time to time those laws be applied, and they are also susceptible to abuse. So it's important to appreciate why these laws were enacted. This was during the white colonial rule, meant to control majority black people. Honorable Mbui here has indicated in a fairly elaborate way why so many of these laws should be amended. Mm-hmm. Because today, it is, of course, Azimio, and the law may be applied against them. Tomorrow, it might be Nelson, people complaining over land issues. Nelson comes from Belgut, which borders Nyakach. So he understands sensitivities around demonstrations, cat rustling, and all these things. He knows. And of course, my friend from Wajir North. So it's important that we don't use the formalistic nature of laws just because something exists in a statute to then try to limit inherent rights to picket. What Azimio is doing is not unique to Kenya. As we speak, Julius Malema is mobilizing people in Pretoria. As we speak, the people in Tunisia are rising against their increasingly authoritarian president. I think it's called Kais Saied. As we speak, the French people are opposing pension reforms. As we speak, Nigerians are talking about election reforms, Peter Obi and his team. It's one thing whether he won or not, but Nigerians have a right to demonstrate. And as we speak, Kenyans are grappling with the serious issues around cost of living, which of course has both domestic and international dimensions. So the law in Kenya allows demonstrations. We should be appreciating that we are in a country that people actually, have that freedom to picket. Of course, I've reiterated severally that I think the president needs to, since he's the symbol here, he needs to aggressively engage his opponents on the other side, both privately, informally, and officially.
Say that again?
Do you want me to repeat that?
Yes.
As we speak, I've said this severally, that the president needs to aggressively engage the opposition. All this will be avoided if they engage. On several serious national issues. One of them is reconstitution of IEBC. My friends here have all been elected. They know that IEBC can actually be misused. They know. They know that the elections is not really about the personnel at IEBC. It's about the systems you put in place. And you start putting the systems right when you agree. You have some kind of arrangement on the personnel you put there. So there's no doubt that IEBC commissioners have been conflicted before. The Cherera 4, Mr. Chebukati. And remember, since 2010, we've been replacing them regularly. So it's not really about these guys. It's more about consensus in having the right people there. And importantly, facilitating them to put systems that when Nelson went in Belgut, we are confident it was free and fair. You see,
just hold on. Let's listen to Raila Odinga on his comment about this particular issue of speaking with the president.
We have no other option. This is the only option that we have to bring home our demand, and which we are doing not in our own interest or on our own behalf, but on behalf of the people of Kenya. And we know that we are talking on behalf of the majority of the people of this country.
Would you want to have a meeting with him?
This is not the time to talk about meeting. We will talk after Monday.
He said, talk after Monday. When there's such kind of standoff, then what is your opinion on what would break this ice?
To me, it's very clear. These demonstrations today are just symptomatic of what's going to happen going forward if consultations don't take place. Remember, I said that this thing is not about the personnel. I know Nelson Makanda, the chairperson of the selection panel. I know Nelson is generally a very decent guy, and he will not want to plunge the country into crisis. But it's not about them. Elections, IEBC is a political body. You have to then, people symbolically refer them to as referees, but you cannot have a situation where one side, just because of the law, chooses the referee.
So how do you suggest, because Raila Odinga is saying, stop this process of recruitment, bring back the Cherera 4. How do you...
I don't think we should bring back the Cherera 4.
Just hold on. Yeah. The question is, how do you stop a process that is already going on based on the existing law?
The problem in this country is that we sometimes forget the past. We've been through this. How do you recruit IEBC that is representative? We did that with Moi. That's why we had the free and fair elections in 2002. We've done that with after 2007. That's why we brought all this process about consultative recruitment. The way you do it is free. It's very simple. I mean, the way you do it is to have political players. There's Mio, that is represented by Norembui, Kenya Kwanza, represented by Nelson Koech, to have a conversation. Ideally, what should happen, since Kenya is very ethnic and very polarized, ideally what should happen is that the two political parties, the way it happens with the Revenue Commission, the deputies, their representatives.
I'm sure you're hearing my question. At this point in time, the Nelson Makanda team has been in office since 2nd
a week
March.
or so, yes.
They have advertised for positions. Applications are closing on 28th. How can you stop that process so that you allow political dialogue?
This is about the law. Just follow the law. And how do you follow the law? Have the very law that established the Nelson Makanda Committee can also be reversed to stop the process. Importantly, by the way, you know, it's very easy some to politicize these things. But importantly, because from where I stand, if one side goes ahead to recruit IEBC commissioners in a single-handed way, the way they're doing it, I can already foresee a crisis in 2027. Because there's no way, and as Mio, by the way, controls half of this country, there's no way that they're going to have a team of IEBC commissioners, formally recruited, of course, through the Nelson Makanda team, to supervise elections and then expect the election to be free and fair. Okay. Perceptions matter.
I hear you. Nelson Koech, is there a possibility that Parliament would entertain to stop a process that is already on course?
You know, the process of picking commissioners of the constitutional commissioners of IEBC, the same process that picked Cherera 4 in 2021 is exactly what it is. It was perfectly okay with Raila Odinga at that time because he believed that Cherera 4 had been picked to pursue his cause. No chairman of election IEBC from multi-party, since we came from single party to multi-party, that Raila is not accused of stealing his election. It is not about IEBC. You can even put anyone in IEBC, Raila will be dissatisfied. It is about his quest for power. There is not a single day that Raila Amolo Odinga has accepted as he lost an election. He will not accept, even if today he was given an opportunity to pick all the commissioners. Because for him, it is about being delivered. He wants a process that delivers him to State House. Unfortunately, elections in this country are about the people. It is about an election. People go and elect themselves. Can you tell me, honestly, from 1997, the same person has accused and chased away all the commissioners of IEBC? It is only Chebukati that survived. He is still, even when Chebukati has exited, he is still accusing Chebukati of stealing his victory. Sam, it is not about IEBC. It is not about the cost of living in this country that has made Raila Odinga to come out to demonstrate.
But he says...
Raila, this country has entertained Raila's bad manners. They have, and we've continued to actually accommodate him, accommodating him in 2017. This bad manners started from handshake, actually started from Moi. And I think we've continued to entertain his blackmail and violence to an extent that every time after election, he wants to get his space back on the table so that he can share government. It has never been about the people of this country. If it was about the people of this country that Raila is fighting for, I can tell you, last regime, when they had the handshake government, the unholy union with Uhuru Kenyatta, I can tell you they will have reduced the cost of prices. It was comfortable for him at that time for hunger to go up. It was okay for him at that time for the cost of power to go up. It was okay for him for every challenge that we had in the country at that time. It was perfectly okay. He went ahead to actually defend Uhuru Kenyatta on the cost of living and used Russia and Ukraine's war as a reason why it was going up. Right now, 6 months into William Ruto's administration, he's saying the cost of living must come down. Raila Odinga, the cost of living does not come down by picketing. The cost of living does not come down by telling people to shut their shops and stay at home. The cost of living does not come down by telling people not to go to work. The cost of living does not come down by telling our children to stay at home and not go to school because of bad manners. The cost of living of this country will come down because of policies and decisions that are made by the executive and political stability. Raila Odinga should allow this country political stability for our economy to progress. Without that, we will continue forever here. And I'm telling you today, Sam, today is Raila's political Waterloo. Watch. You can see, and I'm happy that your journalists are out there. In fact, tell Chamutai going to come out. Raila Odinga did not sleep in his house. She's wasting her time there. Let her come to the studio. I am telling you today, no one will go and demonstrate. I'm happy for Kenyans because Kenyans have known the same person they have died for.
I hear you.
For all these years. He's perfectly sleeping somewhere and enjoying and watching this show. Let every Kenyan today go to work because Raila Odinga will not feed you from your house. Raila Odinga, you will go out to the streets, you will be arrested for trying to disrupt peace and order. Let everyone go to work.
You sound so informed, including where the former Prime Minister spent his night. But
he knows his crime.
Okay. Yes, sir. I want you to tell me, what do you think will be the solution out of this? Because they have listed the issues as Azimio. They have said that the president is not listening to them. The specific words were Kiburi na Madaha. So what would you suggest to be the solution out of this standoff?
Sam, one thing first. On the standard, on the first page, if you look at, the former Prime Minister is demanding the reinstatement of the Cherera 4. People who have resigned. People who have resigned, left jobs, he wants them back. I mean, this rule of law, what does it look like? I believe it's a universal thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody must respect it. It is not that when it's not on your side, you disregard it. You know, there's a Somali tale, if you kindly allow me. There was a king who had his people had two livelihoods, farmers and herders. And there was always a conflict. Mm-hmm. You see, livestock will always go into farms and destroy crops. Mm-hmm. And he had serious issues trying to adjudicate on these conflicts. Then he one day made a decree. He said, from today, any livestock that will go into a private farm, he used to have a symbol of unity, a long stick. Mm-hmm. He will produce a corn that will cover that stick. And that was very long. You can imagine that punishment. It went on. People felt that that decree was so harsh. To an extent, later, unfortunately, it is the king's cows that went into somebody's farm. And he was the one now to dispense justice. Do you know what he said? I didn't say the orientation of the stick. If you thought that it should always stand, it can also go horizontal. And you know the amount of corn required to cover a horizontal stick. Mm-hmm. For Raila, that is the rule of law. He has been promising us that we are going to Canaan. And we have proved the Jordan River has no crocodiles. It's only that he's not a good swimmer. Now Canaan has become a march to State House. Anyway, back to your question. My view is this. Uh-huh. Kenya belongs to all of us. We need to sober up. We have wonderful professionals on the side of the former Prime Minister. Ruto has won the elections fairly. He was petitioned. The Supreme Court, there is no any other apex court other than the Supreme Court, has declared him the president. He has the mandate of the people. Can we come together, talk for the betterment of the people? And quote me, when Uhuru took over the government, the dollar was below 100 shillings. And he left it at 125. This is not the making of Ruto, William Samoei Ruto. Mm-hmm. Look at, they gave IEBC a very expensive education system with no infrastructure, no plan. Ruto is grumbling to implement the same, put up junior secondary schools, and he has to do it within 6 months. He has employed 35,000 teachers. Fuliza, you know how much it has been mesmerizing the public. Let me just finish. The interest rates. How many Kenyans have been blacklisted in credit reference bureau? Today, 18...
Honorable Sane, allow me to cut you short because I was asking about the solution from the current problem.
The solution is
and it's not
the
factual.
elites should come together.
It is not factual to say that the dollar rate was 125 shillings when President Kenyatta was leaving.
Thereabout.
He left it at 120 shillings.
Good, thereabout.
I want us to take a look at the feedback that has come to us.
But I wanted to, you asked for a solution.
We're out of time. You didn't give me the solution. Give me a Citizen TV Kenya, at Sam Gituku, the hashtag to use is daybreak on what Kenyans are saying this morning. Sawe, responsibility of any accountable government is to listen. Organizing demonstrations to counter opposition is irresponsible and indicates a lack of commitment to progress Kenya forward. It is important to acknowledge that Raila's demands might be genuine or not. All right. This is Godi Baraza. Raila Odinga should be mindful of that commoner who depends on the calmness of the city to survive. The mass action will only lead to unnecessary commotion and disruption of businesses. Rev. Harry, constitutionality, State House Kenya is a protected area. Thus, I do urge them to maintain peace. Though it's their right to picket, let them raise their grievances to various institutions. After all, the new regime is only 6 months old. God bless Kenya. Engineer Lazaro, the 2010 Constitution allows right to peaceful picketing. Honorable Koech should note that down. Others leaders shouldn't thump their chests or close door for dialogue. We don't want Kenya to disintegrate into small, I bet you mean, chiefdoms like Somalia, the country. Then, Honorable Lilian COE, the Azimio leader has a clear and effective way of voicing his grievances, which is through the National Assembly and the Senate. His choice of the mass action option signifies an intention to cause disruption and bring businesses to a standstill. That's the feedback from Kenyans. Now, we have to pave way for Sporting Monday, but Honorable Mbui, are you heading to the demonstrations?
Yes, we are.
Yourself?
We'll be very peaceful. Yes. So I'll be there with my white handkerchief and my flag, and we will just walk peacefully. We will not be armed, and we hope that the police don't do what they did to me in 2017 when they broke my leg. So I hope they don't do that again.
I wish you all the best.
But we also don't want to. We don't want to be threatened because we are following our constitution.
Okay.
Some for me to, I will have gone, but for me to remain neutral and balanced, my friends, I won't physically go. But I expect the police to respect constitutional rights to picket. I urge them not to use any force, particularly violent force, and just allow the country to move forward in a manner that allows dialogue, but importantly allows people to express their views even if they disagree with them. And I also urge restraint on the part of demonstrators. I want to also urge the president to be the gentleman in the room and reach out to the opposition, particularly on IEBC, but importantly on cost of living issues and other related things going forward. If they don't do this, I can predict it won't end nicely.
All right. You may want to speak to Honorable Koech. He's next to you.
He's my friend, but he doesn't listen to me on this.
Doesn't appear very quickly. And
He's
for us, Honorable Ibrahim Sawe from Juja Road, Honorable Nelson Koech from Belgut.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Eric Omolo, an advocate, and also Honorable Robert Mbui from Kathiani and the Deputy Minority Leader of the National Assembly. All the best and may you have a peaceful day. My name is Sam Gituku. See you later at 9 a.m. We'll be bringing you the latest in the country and of course in the city on the images that we'll be able to see and bring to you. Up next is Sporty Monday with Ilis Raburu and the team. Bye for now.